Hello everyone. March 14th, 2017. Today our opportunity of time together is to do a GP 2016 product tour. So thanks very much for making the time to come and take a look at our GP 2016. Ashley, can you verify for me please that you can see my screen?
Yes, I can, Sandy.
Great, thanks. My name is Sandy Wickman. I have had the opportunity to work with the Dynamics GP product since 1999, so about 17 years. I've worked with the Interdyne company, Interdyne BMI company, for the last 3.5 years, I think. Had the opportunity to serve as the GP product manager for a year of that time, and very much enjoy consulting on the GP product line. So very grateful for the opportunity to be able to show you some of the GP 2016 and the product tour today. So we'll just dive right in here. Let me move this out of my screen a little bit. And we're going to start by looking at the home page. So every version of GP has really improved version over version with regard to the home page, and a user can customize this page to provide them with everything that they need to see as soon as they come into work in the morning. They can get the snapshot of their day, they can take a look at what tasks are being required of them today. So we're going to look at this in terms of the sections of this home page and just look at how you can organize this to be able to support you as you get started for your workday. The first section is the to-do section, and within this we have a number of different reminders, some tasks, and even some workflow kinds of tasks. So if I have reminders for things where I've got customers that are over their credit limit, one of the great things about these reminders is I can simply click on the reminder queue itself, and it opens a list that tells me who those 7 customers are that are over their credit limit, what their current customer balance is, and even their telephone number so that I can give them a quick call and see if I can resolve that in a short order. So I get not only a reminder, but all the details that I need to be able to take immediate action against those reminders. Within the tasks section, I can assign to myself or even to other users in my GP system tasks that they need to take action on. So if I happen to be out of the office tomorrow and they need to make an assignment to one of my coworkers, I can set a task and give it to them. They'll be able to see it on their homepage and be able to get some information about what tasks they're supposed to take action on, when the task is due. They can update that task to show that it's been completed, and you can even put links to other places, either within GP or even out to a website. So if I needed to ask them to go take a look at the bank balance for the day, I can attach the web page link right to this task, and that person would be able to link to it, get the information, and be able to take action as necessary. With regard to workflow tasks like these purchase requisition approvals that need to be taken, I can open up a requisition, review the details, and be able to take action on it to be able to submit it, to approve it, to delegate the approval of it to someone else. Several different tasks, and we're going to look a little farther at purchase requisitions here in just a few minutes as well. So that to-do pane, very helpful, generally easy to be able to create new reminders, tasks, and workflows. The second pane that we're going to look at here is the procurement. So if you're in a distribution sort of an environment, you have the ability in this procurement pane to see how many saved requisitions I have, how many of those requisitions are now ready for purchase. I can enter a new requisition, view the requisitions, find them, and then be able to even see a short list here of the requisition details that have been submitted for my user and be able to take action against certain things. So very helpful pane for procurement. The next pane here is about time management. So within the time management, if you're using the payroll and or HR modules of GP, you can use the time management pane to be able to see things like I have one saved time card, none of my time cards have been rejected, I have none that are pending my user action, and I have 2 time cards that have been approved. So these tiles give me details that I can then be able to link back to see the details that I need to there. I also have a section of this area of this pane in my home page where I can do things that I need to take action on. So if I needed to view my benefits, I can do that. I can view my pay stubs. I could get a list of those pay stubs here. I can even check them, mark the ones that I need to reprint and print them. So there would be my pay stub. So if I lost my pay stub, or if I even don't deliver them as a part of my routine process, my employees would be able to come into GP, even potentially through an employee self-serve type license, and be able to print their own pay stubs without me having to distribute them to the users. I have similar kinds of abilities to be able to view and print my own W-2s. I can view and update my W-4. So if I wanted to make some changes there to my withholdings, you can allow and disallow different kinds of things that you want to be able to let your employees take action on their own. And then you could even apply a workflow so that the activities that they did take action on, that you would know what kinds of things they were taking action against and be able to route them so that the payroll and HR staff are aware of the changes that the employees are making independently. So a really helpful area page or area pane on your home page is that time management. Then next we're going to look at the Business Analyzer pane. This one has several KPIs or key performance indicators that are right here on your home page for you to be able to look at. So if I wanted to see my gross profit margin when I start my day, my receivables turnover, my total expenses, or even my cash position, I can have that detail right here on my home page for me to be able to see that level of detail. All of these are secured by the GP security, so you can choose what information you want to allow your users to have and what you want to keep hidden from them. The next section is the quick link section. So for things that I have to do on a regular basis routinely, for instance my master posting, if I put a quick link here, I can click it there and be able to take action within that window without any additional navigation. And these can be different kinds of tasks across different kinds of functionality. So if I have some, grant management versus summary inquiries versus, analytical accounting kind of details, and then all the way back to a checkbook detail, I have the ability to take quick action against those without navigating anywhere else within my GP application. And the last pane that I wanted to bring to your attention on my home page is the My Reports. So any report that you need to run routinely out of GP, you can add to the My Reports section of your area of your home page, and simply clicking on it actually generates the report to the window. These can be Smart List reports, they can be GP canned reports such as a trial balance or an aging, they can be SSRS reports, so customized reports, all kinds of different things that you need to run or look at the details on a regular basis can be added to the My Reports section. So I did want to to make mention before we go on then that we will be taking questions at the end. I'll be sure and leave some time at the end so that you have plenty of time to ask any questions that you might have as we go along. Okay, Ashley's going to be watching for those questions. So that's our home page. The other thing that I like to point out pretty early on in any of our product tours for GP is the help function. So GP has a very robust help function, and it's even window specific. So based on any window that I might choose to open, there's a blue circle with a question mark in it, and I can go to About This Window, or I can use my F1 on my keyboard to open the window-sensitive help. So on my master posting window, I have master posting window information. I have hot links to other topics that are related items. And I also have a fields and buttons where I can change the master posting window details to give me every single field that's on this window. So batch ID, comments, display batches, all of the fields that are on that window are described in detail so that I can know what kinds of things should be found in those available fields. Then I also have a buttons, so any of the buttons that are on the toolbar are also described in detail so that I can then be able to use that information. I can also print those out and make my own personal manual if I needed to do that, for things that I needed to do routinely. So very context sensitive, very helpful kinds of details in my help file. So I'm going to switch now to the financial area page. In my financial area page, I have the cards section, which is where my static details like my GL accounts are held. Today I wanted to focus on a couple of these, including a unit account, variable allocations, and fixed allocations. So the unit accounts give me the ability to be able to create accounts and details for things like square footage for different departments. So I have my administration department, my square footage for accounting. So keep this in mind. These are counter kinds of accounts, not posting accounts, which we're going to look at how that impacts other things like my variable allocations. So keep in mind square footage accounts. Unit accounts can be used for keeping track of office visits if you're a clinic, square footage, numbers of employees, all kinds of different things in our unit accounts. In our fixed allocation accounts, we have the ability to be able to post to a single utilities expense account, but have the distribution go to each of my different departments. So 6190 is my utilities GL account, utilities expense, and 100 is my administration department, and I have a variety of different departments here that are set up, and each of them I've set to have a particular percent of the dollars when I post to this utilities expense allocation account. So by way of fixed allocation, I can send all of the costs of this utility expense out to a number of different departments, all within posting to a single GL account. Then next I have the variable allocations. In a variable allocation equation, I have my rent expense, where I've taken different distribution accounts and associated that distribution with the breakdown account that was related to it. So in our breakdown account, we had those unit accounts that said, I have 40 square feet, that's my administration square feet, whereas my other next department, 200, has only 20 square feet as the accounting, and so forth. So when I post to this general ledger account, I'll be allocating the details across a number of different accounts based on those unit accounts that they're related to. So if my square feet changed, if my employee count changed, I would then be able to go change just the unit account details, and it would automatically change the distribution for those activities. So let's quickly take a look at how we can post to this rent expense account and have it allocate across all of these different GL accounts. So I'm going to go to my financial transactions to the general entry window, and I'm going to post this as an individual transaction on the date of April 12th, and I'm going to be allocating some rent. So my debit is going to be to my variable allocation account, for $400, and I'll just pick an offset account. Doesn't really matter which one I offset against. Now when I post this transaction, what we'll see as our posting journal is that it will actually be to this 6180 account. When I close the window, I should get a posting journal. I can see that it did post to 6180 in the posting journal, and my journal entry number is 3483. So if I go and look at my journal entry now, what I actually see took place is not to that 6180 account with the 00s. What took place was a distribution to all of my different departments based on the square footage that were at those departments for the period of April of 2017. Okay, so fixed and variable allocation accounts, very useful in being able to distribute to accounts based on other kinds of details. Okay, the next topic I'd like to take is the requisition management. So I'm going to look at my purchasing area page. Now these area pages are really helpful for a user who might spend the majority of their day doing a particular kind of task like purchasing. They can use this purchasing area page to be able to target the activities that they're going to spend their day doing. So if they're doing purchasing, this restricts the list so that they're only looking at transactions for purchasing, inquiries for purchasing, and so forth. So very nice way to be able to restrict the overall navigation for a user. GP 2016 has purchase requisition available in it, where we have the ability to be able to create requisitions. Users can have access to doing requisitions and submit them to workflows so that they can be approved by their managers, and they can know some part of the details of making a purchase, but are not required to know all of the details. So in this particular case, I have requisition number 6. I'm buying an item number 100 XLG, which is my green phone. I don't know which site I want it to go to. I don't know what vendor to buy it from. I don't know what shipping method. All of that can be decided by my purchasing department. What I really needed to communicate through my requisition was that I need to buy a new phone, and that they will need to fill in the rest of the details about the things that need to make this the best purchase for our organization. I can submit this. It will go through a requisition approval process, workflow process, and then be able to route that to the department head that would approve for my purchase of this new requisition. So that requisition then could go through a workflow process. So we're going to look briefly at some of the 2016 workflow process. So on my administration area page, in the setup section, I have some workflow setup that I can set for a number of different kinds of workflows. So 2016 has the abilities to be able to do workflows with regards to financial general ledger batches. Under sales we have receivable batches, a number of different choices in purchasing, including payable batch approvals, purchase orders, purchase requisitions, or even a vendor workflow. So if you needed to route your vendors through a process to make sure that you have the tax forms you need, the 1099 information you need, you can do all of that with a workflow. Then in payroll we have a number of workflows. Employee profiles, so I mentioned earlier if you wanted to have W-4 activities that were taken on an employee self-service basis routed for approval, you can have that payroll W-4 approval step so that it goes to the right people to be directed to payroll and approved for changing in their W-4 forms. Several things in project accounting, and then one even in administration that has to do with our smart list designers. So I'm going to pop back here to purchasing and talk about some of the ways that you can set up your workflows to support your organization in routing things for approval. So I'm going to expand here on my purchase order approval and look at a couple of different sequential sorts of options that I might have. So I've created an approval process for purchase orders that I've titled Sequential, and it's owned by a particular user so they could make changes to it. Other users would not be available to make changes to that sequential one once I assign a user to the ownership of it, and I can also obviously let my system administrator or SA user have access to that as well. In this particular sequential one, what I've said is that if my purchase order subtotal is $500 or less, it's to be approved by myself, Sandy Wickman. If my purchase order is $750 or less, it's to be approved by Brian Wilton. And if it's $1,000 or less, it's approved by my GP admin. Oh, excuse me, I should have said 1,000 or more. Said that backwards. In this sequential by step, I'm saying that if it's $500, it needs to be approved by a particular user. If it's $750, it's approved by this user and this user. And if it's $1,000, it's approved by all three of the users that's assigned to. So in this case, the $1,000 is assigned to the GP admin. Brian has the $750 approval, and I have the $500 approval. So the difference being only one approval at this level just based on the dollar amounts, and multiple approvals set up at this level based on the approval amounts where you can have multiple people approve those against a particular purchase order transaction. The workflow approval process does have the ability to send emails to those who need to do approvals. There are some of the details that can be a part of the body of the email, so if what the approver of this purchase order really needs to know is that there are certain details in the purchase order to be approved, for instance, that telephone that I wanted to purchase, and that it was a green phone, it's for Department 100, and the requisitioner was Joe Smith, then all of that can actually be a part of the email itself, so that potentially the approver doesn't ever have to log into GP to review anything. They can approve that right from their email from their smartphones. So there's this ability here to set up different sorts of messages, and then messages can also go back to the person who submitted the requisition, so that they are updated that the requisition has been approved, so they know where they stand in terms of the details for that purchase coming through for them. So some really great information there in terms of our workflow maintenance. Good things happening in workflows, and each version that we've seen recently has added to the different sorts of workflows that are available for us. So continue to look forward to some details coming out in terms of workflow. Smart List. So one of the other great features of the GP 2016 is the Smart List. I've added a button to my header to be able to open my Smart List right from the header, so that anywhere I am in my GP on any area page, I'll be able to open my Smart List right here from my header, making it really convenient for me. A Smart List is the ability to be able to query any number of different tables of details within my GP application. So for instance, if I wanted to go into my financial information and look for GL accounts, I have the ability to be able to see any of the accounts that are within my GP application. I can export that to Excel simply by clicking on the Excel button. It goes right out to the Excel application, where I can then take other action on it, can send it off to other users. The Smart List Designer functionality is relatively new to the GP environment. It was prior to 2016, but in 2016 you have the ability to export and import these Smart Lists out of a database and put them into a different database based on your companies that you might have set up within your GP. The Smart List Designer also has the ability then to be able to create new Smart Lists from existing ones and be able to modify existing Smart Lists as well. So depending on your security, you would be able to go to any of these Smart Lists and be able to modify them or create new ones. So this Smart List Designer works with any of the ISV products or third-party products that you might have installed in your environment. So in this database view, you could see all the other database details for other ISVs installed, and even down to being able to see several SQL views that you can create within your environment to be able to use and add those to Smart Lists, giving you much more control over the ability to connect tables and query on details that you might need to see specific to your environment. So in this view, I can see all the different SQL views that I have access to and be able to add them to any of my GP Smart Lists. Okay. Let's see, fixed assets. I think that's an area that comes up pretty much every year with this first quarter being tax prep time. Lots of people are looking at fixed assets. So on my financial area page, in my cards section, I have an area here called fixed assets. If I look at the general tab, I can see that I can set up fixed assets. I also have the ability to use my purchases. So anything that I've purchased to a fixed asset clearing account, I can set it so that it goes to that become a fixed asset, which reminds my people who are in the finance department that someone in purchasing has bought a fixed asset. That asset record is here for them to make a new, or that purchase record is here for them to make a new fixed asset out of. I can class my fixed assets together into groups. They're completely defined by you. So furniture could be a class, but you can have much more detail than that as well if you choose. Lots of good information here. The physical location of where it's being, that asset's being stored. The location. So Alpharetta, Georgia is the location at the B1R100 location within the Alpharetta plant. Then I also have the ability to create different books for that same asset. So I might have an internal book where I'm calculating depreciation on a monthly basis for these fixed assets. So asset number 1 in my internal book has a straight line original life with no switchover. In my tax book, my AMT tax book, I might have 150% double declining balance and use a straight line switchover. So I can have different tax methods for the same asset. There's my double declining balance with a half-year averaging convention on this federal tax book for this fixed asset. So really great functionality in GP 2016 to be able to use fixed assets, control the different depreciations, record and book those depreciations. It is completely integrated into your GP application, so your depreciation calculations can be posted on a regular basis. So fixed assets, great stuff there. Another good thing that that I'd like to point out has to do with document attachments. So if you want to be able to attach purchase order acknowledgement. So let's say you've sent your vendor a purchase order and they have acknowledged based on a document that they are willing to sell to you the item that you're purchasing at the price that you're looking for. So in my purchase order window, purchase order entry window, there is a attach button on my toolbar where I click on the attach and it opens a document attachment management window. Notice that in this file attachments I can have a whole bunch of different kinds of documents. So lots of documents could be attached. I'm going to go ahead and click the attach button at the bottom, and I'll just use something from my desktop here to attach to it. So we'll just choose a file. So I have the option to be able to, in this window, see the date that that was attached, the time, the user who attached it, the origin of the item, and even whether it's available to be able to be emailed, right? So the document attachment can have some additional details in terms of the status of it, attached, who did it, and when. This expansion button over here even gives me the ability to say, I want this attachment to be able to flow. So in a separate and slightly different example, if you have a product catalog where you have attached pictures of the items to the actual item records in your GP records, you could potentially flow those pictures of those items through a sales order to your customer so that they would be able to open the pictures of what it was they were expecting to have delivered to them. So this flow functionality creates the opportunity for you to be able to send documents flow through to other kinds of documents and be able to send out to your customers and vendors and so forth. So that flow functionality is real useful. And then you also have the ability to be able to keep track of even the deleted items. So if this file attachment got deleted, it wouldn't be deleted and removed for forever. It would be able to see it on the deleted tab to be able to know who deleted it and when. And then you actually can, even from this window, click the preview button. As long as you have the application installed, it will open that document that's attached and show you based on a preview of what has been attached to this particular document. Once there is an attachment on a document, then you can see how my attach paperclip has changed in its visual appearance. It now has a paper underneath it to show that there actually is an attachment. So that's a good cue for those who are doing purchase order entry to see that there is an attachment there. Okay, on my purchasing area page, one of the other new things that's come out in the 2015 and 2016 versions are these purchasing and others, so sales and inventory, all in one view. So anyone who's used GP in the past can attest to the fact that sometimes it was difficult to get an understanding of a purchase order transaction with all of its associated receipts and invoices and returns and payments against that particular document. This purchasing all in one view is a graphical place to be able to get some of those details and apply some filters to it that make it really handy. So I'm going to choose my Advanced Office Systems, and it's going to represent for me the first 5 transactions of my Advanced Office Systems transactions. So in my first column I see 5 purchase orders. I can click this down arrow and see some additional details about that particular purchase order. Turn it back up again. I can click on the blue drill back and actually open the purchase order inquiry window where I could see all the details for that purchase order. And this checkbox in the upper corner says restrict the rest of the columns across my page to only this purchase order. So now I'm seeing the purchase order, the receipt for that purchase order, and the invoice for that purchase order. So in this particular case, the purchase order was for $247.50. I do have a receipt for it, and the invoice was actually for $272. I can see the document number, I can see the details for the purchase invoice, the terms, and I can even drill into the invoice where I would be able to see that there was a dollar difference based on that that indicator there, that there was a difference between my purchase order and my invoice dollars. I also have the ability to apply filters. So these filters here give me the opportunity to say if I want open or historical purchase orders, I can do a purchase order contains, so I don't have to know all the zeros. You might recall, purchase order 000122, you don't have to know all of that detail. I could put my purchase order number contains a G and click OK, and it filters out my purchase orders so that only the ones that have a PO where G is included. I don't have to know the entire details. I have to only know one. And then I also can apply that to a number of different options, number of different filter choices. Okay, I'll take that one off and click OK. That takes me back to my unfiltered list. I also have some other options to be able to include different sorts of things. So if I don't ever do purchase returns, I can uncheck this and then this column will go away. It won't be necessary. I have some more real estate on my window that way. So these all-in-one views, great opportunity for extending the ability to be able to do lookups for your purchasing documents. Again, they also have this in inventory and in sales, this all-in-one view. Then the next thing I wanted to mention is I had indicated early in our webinar today that there was some employee self-serve kind of functionality. It is entirely possible to add the web client, which web-based client gives those employees the access that they might need from other places besides their desktop and their office. And in this web client, so this is me logged into a GP application that is web-based, not my standard GP interface. And I can see here that I have a similar kind of a home page, my to-dos, my quick links, and my project time and expense. So if I wanted to go in and do some project time tracking, I also have my time management pane that I looked at a little while ago inside the GP client, where I can do things like view and print my own W-2. If you allow those employees to have that self-service kind of functionality, it's really nice to give them the web client. The GP user licenses are very much less expensive, so they can go in and be able to get to their own details. There's also some applications that are available at the Microsoft Web Store to be able to do things like your own PTO. Right? So you can add that as functionality for your employees as well. And then lastly, I want to wind up with a couple of things that relate to things like dashboards and KPIs. So in the delivered product of GP 2016 is the opportunity for you to have out of the box a number of SQL Server reporting services reports. So they're accessing the data for these reports directly in the SQL Server. So I'm in my TWO, my Fabricam company. I have all these different folders based on the details that I give my users access to. So you could potentially not give a user access to GP at all, but give them access to the reports that they need to be able to do their daily activities using these reports instead of access to GP. So I'm going to go into my financial folder, and within this I can see a number of different details, including some trial balance details. Right? Let's go back to look at inventory instead. So if what you needed to know was things like what are my what's my stock status, what do I have in stock, this report could be generated by anyone who is given access to the report through their Active Directory. So this filters at the top all kinds of things that you can give them access to. They can go from item number to another item number. So I'm going to pick my 100 XLG again. And then I can choose a number of different values. I want to sort by, and then I can filter by a whole bunch of other things or not, and then view my report and be able to have a real customized ability to be able to give myself a report for some details that I might need to know. So once I've completed my filters, I can click this up arrow. It gives me some additional value, real estate on my window, where I can see that I have, of these items, I have 8 on order, none on requisitions, I have 32 on hand, and 4 of those 32 are allocated. So I can see the details for this particular item. I can use this this export button to export this information to PDF, Excel, Word, a number of different formats. I can use the refresh button to refresh this window if something has changed about the availability of this item. And then I also, within each of these, have a number of different charts and KPIs. So in this case, if I want to see the inventory turnover KPI, I'd be able to look and see the turnover for that particular item or any item over a period of time. So a bunch of different charts and KPIs. The inventory one actually has fewer than some of the others, but let's go back to financial here. So look at all of the different things that you could have KPIs on, and these can be added to your home page. These can be added to a dashboard. So if you wanted to create an Excel dashboard, they're really simple to do. We've created lots of different kinds of ones for people who need to have GP information but not necessarily have access to GP. So we're extending this information outside of your GP user group to be able to make it available to all of your other users. So GP 2016 extends that even further. This can relate again to any of the different modules that you have licensed. So in this case it happens to be out of the financial module, but it can also be out of purchasing if you've got purchasing agents that need to have some additional details that they're working through, cash requirements, right, vendor information, vendor summaries, even the received but not yet invoiced report. Okay, so let's see, let me check my, one other thing that I did want to mention before we go to questions is this particular slide shows the Microsoft Dynamics GP roadmap. I do like to bring this up because I like to point out that the R2 release came out the end of December actually of 2015 and included a number of different things like that homepage refresh, the web client that I showed you briefly, and several of the top features that were requested by customers. So Microsoft is targeting to continue to take requests from customers and make those be the reasons that they make new features and functionality available to users. That in the 2017 year, we're supposed to be looking forward to GP 2018, and then top features again going forward from that. They have slightly changed the cadence. Used to be 6 months. Every 6 months there was a release. Now it's gone to every once a year. But functionality and technology releases as well as those top features that are requested by customers. Okay, Ashley, we've got about 15 minutes or so for questions.
Great, thanks, Andy. If anyone has any questions from what you saw today, you can just submit them on the control panel on your screen, or if you prefer to raise your hand, I can unmute you and you can ask Sandy your question verbally. We didn't receive any questions so far, but I know sometimes people save them until the end.
Okay, so while we're waiting, I will jump back over here to GP then and keep talking. So stop me if someone comes in with a question. Some of the other additional great features about GP 2016 have to do with email settings, being able to set up emails. I'm actually on a virtual image, so I don't have quite as much functionality available to me on a virtual environment, but the email settings give you the ability to create unique messages to go out with things. So we can email out specific documents like purchase orders to vendors, can email sales orders and sales invoice kinds of details to customers, and you can customize those email messages so that they get information from you not only within the document that they're receiving, but also in the actual message that you want to send. Similar kinds of things are available for payroll and things that you might send to your employees as well. Some of the additional new features include the ability to do 1099 information, and the reports in 1099s for year-end now include printing your 1099s and your 1096, which hasn't been in the past. You also have the ability to do your W-2s, your W-4s. Let's jump over here to payroll, where you can do you can print your W-2s. I mentioned that the employee self-serve or ESS could print their own W-2s. This box keeps you from having to reprint the ones that they've already printed. So it's marking in the background that you that employee has already printed their own, so that you are not required to print them again. You can have your W-3 transmittals. You can print your 1095s and 1094Cs as well. So a number of those forms have been added to the GP 2016 for you to be able to print directly from GP. The 2016 R2 release also includes the ability to be able to print them on stock paper. So it's got all the lines already on the way that it prints, so you can print them on stock paper and have them print out with all the correct lines for your employees to be able to see.
All right, we did receive one question. It has two parts.
Okay.
We have several different entities we track in GP. Is it easy to toggle between entities? Also, would functionality be the same if we have a multi-entity format?
So moving between companies is as easy as clicking on the company words down here. I'm on the Fabricam company, the company login that I could change then to change to a different company, and open up that company instead. What we typically find in a company where an environment where there are multiple companies is people may choose to have more than one company open at once so that they can do transactions like intercompany and so forth. In those cases, you actually are using multiple user licenses if you open multiple companies. So you might want to consider that in terms of your user headcount and your licenses. If you want to have multiple companies open at the same time, it does use multiple user licenses. There are a couple of third parties that relate to being able to do intercompany between products. GP does have some native functionality for intercompany as well. So if there's something more that we can help you with in terms of setting up for intercompany transactions, we certainly are happy to help you do that.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any other questions today, but if people have more questions that come up after the session, feel free to email either Sandy or myself, and we can follow up with you.
Okay, I'll point out just a couple more things then and make sure that we get full value out of your hour together. So again, some of the other good things about GP 2016 include some electronic filing for W-2s. Right? You do have the ability to be able to create an electronic file and create that file, be able to send that out to a file that you can then send to the people that need to have that electronic filing. Let's see, what else would be good to talk about? We do have good functionality in and around the electronic transactions for banking and vendors. We also have generating EFT files, right? So some of the new kinds of things that are necessary for and available for those who like to be able to send electronic funds transfer information, right? So we can set up generating EFT files, send that information out to your banks. We also have SafePay. So if you want to be able to send information to your bank about what checks they should expect to see processing through your account, you can set that up as a part of GP 2016 as well. Okay, then one last thing that I'll mention then has to do with these Excel reports. So one of the new functionalities in GP 2016 is called OData. It's a method of connecting a language of connecting data to be able to submit data back and forth between different kinds of applications, right? So OData. And in alignment with that is the ability to be able to create these data connections and reports that are right in Excel. So these Excel live reports include things like a payables transaction report. Not quite sure how long it'll take to publish the report. So you can actually put these on schedules, right? So if you wanted this report, this payables transaction report to be published every day to a shared location, you can set up the report schedule to be able to publish those reports and calculate when the next day is going to be that it will generate those reports. So if people need to have these reports every day, you can schedule them, publish them out to a shared location where people can go and access them without ever having to log into GP. So for those of us who have been used to going into Smart Lists and generating the lists out to an Excel sheet so that others would be able to see them, you won't necessarily have to do that. You can set up a report schedule, have it published to a location, and then it'd be available for your users based on that scheduling. We also have the actual Excel report itself that you can open and see the details in that payables transaction default report. Which won't work on my virtual apparently. Sorry about that. But these reports are available to you to be able to run without accessing GP to be able to get to that data. So Excel reports, the SSRS reports that I showed you a few minutes ago, SmartList favorites, lots of ways that you can get information to your users without having them be a part of the GP user license group if you choose to do that. And I think that's all I have for our webinar today. Any other questions, Ashley?
Not that I see. So thanks, Andy, for covering all this content.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate your time today. Thanks for participating with us. And we hope that you will get in contact with us if there's anything that you saw today that you're interested in adding in terms of your functionality. We'd be happy to show you in greater depth or assist you in rolling out new modules and functionality.
Thank you. And this session was recorded, so we will be emailing everyone a link to the recording if you want to refer back to anything that you saw today.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.